One of the biggest challenges you're going to experience when you start your mental health journey is trying to find a therapist. And in this video, I've compiled 9 simple techniques that you can use to find a therapist. Number 7 is for people who are specifically in Kenya. And number 9 is a little bit controversial to some people. So yeah, stick around for that. The number 1 strategy you can use to find a therapist in Kenya is to get a referral. I remember when I wanted to see a therapist, I asked my friends. So you can ask a friend or a family member who has been to therapy before and find out who the therapist was. Find out what the experience was with therapy and what they got out of it, if they feel that this is somebody they will recommend. If it's somebody they will recommend, you can take their contact and go see that therapist and see if it's somebody that you gel with, somebody you get a vibe with. And yeah, that's the easiest way to find a therapist. Just get a referral from a friend or a family member who has been to therapy. The second way you can find a therapist in Kenya is to go to a public hospital. You can find psychologists on site, or when you go there, ask for the mental health department. They will tell you what they need from you. If you need to pay, they will tell you how much you need to pay. But for sure, in a public hospital, the charges are much lower than in a private facility. The third way to get a therapist in Kenya is to call the helplines. So there are many free helplines that exist right now. I know Red Cross has one. I know Nakanda has one. Several organizations have helplines, and my next video is actually going to be on free therapy services that you can get through helplines. When they respond, you can ask them if they can refer you to a therapist if you don't find somebody that you want to work with there, or if they don't specialize in whatever you need, you can ask them to refer you to another therapist. The fourth way to find a counselor in Kenya, and this is specifically for students, is to go to the school counseling departments. So in your institution, there's a counseling department, and because you're a student, you're likely to get those services for free. I have not had school counselors asking you to pay for the services because the school counselor is paid by the school, right? If you feel like you can't talk to the counselor at that time, it's okay to ask them to refer you to somebody who's outside of the institution. They know other counselors. As I said, the beauty of this profession is that counselors know other counselors. Go to your school counseling department and ask for those services. The fifth way to find a therapist in Kenya is if you are an employee, you can go to your employer and find out if they have a wellness department. I know some companies offer wellness services to the employees. They have a staff counselor, and if you work in such an organization, you can ask the staff counselor to serve you because that's what they are there for. The sixth way to find a counselor or a therapist in Kenya is if you have insurance. You can ask your insurance company to tell you the mental health professionals and the mental health facilities they have on their panel, which you can go to. Find out those things from your insurance provider, so that you don't sit with an insurance cover that could be serving you, but you're not getting the services that you need just because you don't have the knowledge. Number 7, the one that I said is specifically for people in Kenya. There's a YouTube channel called Infinity Wellness Consultants, and I host their weekly show called Know the Therapist. In that weekly show, we invite mental health professionals to come and talk to us about their work that they do. We invite them to speak about what kind of counseling they do, where they do that work, how they do it, and what drove them to becoming mental health professionals. Watch the counselors who have been invited, who have spoken about their work and how they do their work, and see if there's any one of them that you would like to work with, and you'll find their contact information in the description box of the video. The 8th way to find a therapist in Kenya is to Google counselor, therapist, psychologist in Nairobi or in Thika or in Meru or wherever you are coming from. Just Google that. You're going to get information. Call them if they have provided a phone number. Give them a call. If they have an email, send them an email. Find them if they're on social media and speak to them and see if you can work with them. The other option is to go to social media, specifically Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and find and search for the particular mental health professional you're looking for. So if you're looking for a counselor, you can just write counselors in Nairobi or counselors in your particular area, right? And they're gonna come up. Many options will come up, and pick the one that you find interesting enough that you want to call or you want to speak with, just to get a feel of who they are and understand how they work, and you can get the services. The other thing about finding a therapist online is to Google for group therapies in your area. So if there's a group therapy that is going on in your area, or a support group of some sorts, a mental health professional is going to be facilitating that group. So you can call that mental health professional. Even if you don't want to join the group sessions, you can call them to find out if they are taking one-on-one clients, and if they are not, they can refer you to another counselor. Those are the main ways that you can find a therapist in Nairobi, in Kenya, wherever you are. Those are really simple ways of finding a therapist. The last point that I have is the one that I said is going to be a bit controversial to some people. Before you get a therapist, I would highly recommend that you start gathering some therapeutic aids. I mean Go find books that talk about therapy or mental health or self-development or the particular issue you're struggling with, and start reading those books. Go listen to podcasts that are discussing that particular issue you have and hear what they have to say. Go watch YouTube videos that are talking about the particular issue you have, that are talking about mental health, that are talking about therapy and the process of therapy. Those are therapeutic aids, the things that you use to help yourself in the process before you find a therapist. I highly recommend this because not everybody can afford therapy, and not everyone has access to a therapist because maybe in your area there is no therapist at the moment that you can work with. So in the meantime, don't sit at home suffering and struggling with a particular issue, yet you can spend that time trying to find a way to help yourself in the process. The controversial part is on the internet, there are people who are sharing their personal experiences, and I think that is a beautiful thing. I think that is the first way we can use to normalize mental health. So the problem is that just because they're telling you their story and the thing that worked for them does not mean that whatever worked for them is going to work for you, and does not mean that their story can be used as a healing practice for you. If you listen to somebody who's sharing their story and you hear something that worked for them, take it as that, something that worked for them. Don't take it as something that is universal, that works for everybody. Don't start seeing yourself as if your problem is too big because it is not getting healed by the thing that helped this other person who gave their personal story. If you want information about mental health issues, go listen to the professionals. People who have spent years studying mental health. People who have spent years treating mental illnesses. Go listen to those people. People who are doing research. People who are speaking about the work that has been done. Distinguish between those two things: personal lived experiences and professional help. Those two things are not the same. Those two things look different. And it is important that you know that those two things are different. That brings me to the end of this video. Thank you so much for listening and sticking around till the end.